and we had not gone wrong ever since.
The administration and good people of Lagos State will forever remember Alhaji Lateef Jakande and his good deeds to Lagosians.
As a journalist, they say Jakande embodied the ideals of truth, objectivity, and public service. These yearly lectures serves as a reminder of the crucial role journalism plays in the society as a watchdog and advocate for the people. Moving forward, journalists must reaffirm their commitment to the principles Jakande embodied, such as truth, integrity, and public service. Ni Omani, reporting for NewsCentral Lagos.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every raise, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
has 60% of its entire population, and it's time for their voices to be heard loud and clear. Involving the young people in nation building is not merely a question of inclusion, but one that is vital for economic growth, innovation, peace, and security. Fafanua Africa provides the platform for the teeming young and vibrant population of our dear continent to voice their concerns with one goal in mind. Provide profound and tangible solutions that will help redefine and reposition the future of Africa. Join us every Friday at 2 p.m. West African Time, 4 p.m. East African Time, and 3 p.m. Central African Time on NewsCentral TV. Fafanua Africa, redefining Africa.
NewsCentral TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the NewsCentral TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on NewsCentral's social media platforms. NewsCentral, Africa first.
As reporters, we don't just gather news stories, we experience them daily. So join us on Report Desk Africa as we share these experiences and review the top African stories. Only on NewsCentral.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's new age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at NewsCentral TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Hey lovers, my name is Sharon Ojai-Grube.
Hi guys, my name is Femi Adebayo.
My name is Anado Ojo.
Steve Chicks, I'm an actor.
Uche Montana.
Popularly known me as Neo Energy. My name is Neo Mobakofre. Uzo Arope, and you're hanging out with News Central.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
NewsCentral TV.
NewsCentral TV.
NewsCentral TV.
News Central TV. Did you hear me? And no, if I'm
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every race, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
NewsCentral TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the NewsCentral TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on NewsCentral's social media platforms. News Central, Africa First.
Good morning to our viewers across Africa and beyond. Welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central Television. It's a wet Thursday morning here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we're excited about the next 2 hours bringing you the biggest conversations across the continent. I am Osaogi Ogbawa.
And I am Olive Emodi, thanking you for joining us this Thursday morning as we talk about some of the biggest stories happening around. We'll be exploring political big stories here in Nigeria as well as in Zimbabwe. President Emerson Mnangagwa has said a number of things that we'll be exploring shortly as to if he doesn't get into office, what exactly will happen. Sounds quite interesting. But beyond the big stories we're looking at, we have our breakfast headlines, and Dapo Adebayo is here with us. Adeboye, I beg your pardon, is here with us to bring us breakfast headlines. Good morning, Dapo.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Osa. What a bright morning, and of course, I'm super excited to be on the show this morning. Part of the top stories, or the story that seems to be on the burner right now, has to do with happenings in Niger Republic. I mean, yesterday, we know that from Nigeria, a delegation was at Niger to actually mediate and see how what I call it, democratically elected government can be restored. So we'll be keeping you up to speed on all of that. But once again, good morning.
Morning to you. I was going to ask if anyone got prayers in their mails.
Well, I have been checking.
You're going to have to keep refreshing mine then.
Oh, well, oh come on.
Check your spam.
I saw that viral video. I mean, there are still a lot of contention as to whether he was aware it was live, or maybe it was just one of their private
I don't think that
sessions.
should be the problem. I don't think whether the cameras are rolling should be the problem. The problem is what he said and what happens behind closed doors. The exposure of what really happens in the National Assembly, when cameras are off or on, and the fact that they randomly would just share money amongst themselves
to enjoy your holiday. But the highlight of it all, the highlight is that nothing will be done about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Nigerian people will still keep struggling and complaining about the fact that they're struggling to adjust to life with the cost of the increased cost of living, with the several strikes here and there, whereas the people who are meant to represent the Nigerian people are having a time of their life.
Very true. And what we're really seeing is, you know, Gospel Akpabio hasn't gotten the hang of, you know, the role of being Senate President.
He's warming up into
it.
it.
You know, so every now and then you can notice him struggling here and there, you know, just understanding the processes and understanding the way things work. So if this was just one of, you know, those slips that happen when you're trying to get a hang of
but you can just imagine how many much more, right?
Well, interesting.
Well, maybe I'm still open for a prayer in my meal.
Well,
I just got an email.
Well, you'll let us know when we come back what exactly the content of that email is. I haven't gotten any, but I look forward to getting mine as well. We'll be sharing with you what our top stories are, and right after that, Jack will be bringing us the breakfast headlines. But first of all, let's share with you what our top stories are.
This morning, Nigeria's president meets Sharia Council leaders. It's a growing conversation that we're going to be exploring.
And intrigues ahead of Zimbabwe's election. Emerson Mnangagwa seems to be the foundation of democracy, or so he thinks.
Back in Nigeria, a new cabinet. Nyesom Wike and El Rufai meet with President Tinubu.
And still in Nigeria, PDP faces more upset with looming defections. It's one of our stories we're looking at today.
All right, and in sports this morning, Ivorian midfielder Frank Kessié joins Al Ali. These and more on Breakfast Central this morning.
NewsCentral TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the NewsCentral TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on NewsCentral's social media platforms. NewsCentral, Africa first.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Dakwo Adigboye. We begin in West Africa, where Nigeria's former emir of the northern city of Kano on Wednesday says he was in Niamey to hold mediation talks with military leaders who staged a coup in Niger 2 weeks ago. Now, former emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi said he spoke with the head of state, General Abdurrahman Chiani, and will deliver a message to Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Sanusi added that he was not an emissary of the Nigerian government. This message comes on the eve of a key regional summit that will be chaired by Tinubu to resolve the latest crisis in the Sahel. We also understand that ECOWAS Community Court has been urged to restrain members of the regional bloc from engaging in any military action in Niger that may undermine the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. This forms part of the relief being sought in a suit filed before the court against ECOWAS, the authority of heads of state and government, President, ECOWAS Commission, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Republic of Niger. The suit was filed by the Incorporated Trustees of Egalitarian Mission for Africa, an international relations expert, Bola Akinterinwa, and the lawyer who claimed to have family members in both Nigeria and Niger, Hamza Dantani, through their lawyer Olukayode Ajulo. Now, the International Criminal Police Organization's operation against organized crime based in West Africa, specializing in scams on the internet, has led to the seizure of freezing of 2.15 million euros and the arrest of more than 100 people in various countries. The investigation, dubbed Operation Jackal, targeted organized crime groups in West Africa, such as Black Axe, resulting in the identification of more than 1,100 suspects, but only 103 suspects were made, and more than 200 bank accounts linked to illicit proceeds of online financial crime blocked. Now, wife of Nigeria's President Oluremi Tinubu has expressed appreciation to Germany for its various interventions in the West African country, especially in the areas of humanitarian assistance in conflict areas. She said the mutual and beneficial relationship so far enjoyed by the two countries is commendable, and she looks forward to more rewarding partnership. The First Lady emphasized that Nigeria needs a lot of help to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal on women, especially and the Nigerians in general. And that wraps up the news at this time. Back to you in the studio, Osa and Olive.
Thank you very much, Dakpo. Interesting also the meeting with MIS or former MIS Sanusi. Not even sure, if that is the right way to address him now, but Sanusi, the former CBN governor, I think that's a safer place. And of course the coup leaders in Niger. I'm not sure exactly how influential he would be in bringing about, diplomatic solution and some conversations over there compared to the ECOWAS team that was sent, and of course Victoria Newland, who flew all the way to Niamey to discuss. But we'll see how this turns out in the next couple of days.
Yes, absolutely true. I mean, I've always been an advocate of diplomatic options being on the front burner as against using the military or using force to sort of settle the matter in Niger. Even though ECOWAS is still insisting that that is not off the table, but I think it's better if, talks, roundtable discussions, conversations, at some point, maybe negotiations, but the use of force. We know what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. Initially, I'm sure Russia must have thought, oh, this will, will be over in 2 months, but it's almost going to, 2 years plus. So I feel that diplomacy, should be explored to its utmost, I call it end. Yeah.
The talks have been happening. We do hope that these talks certainly yield results. Thank you very much, Dakpo, for bringing us breakfast headlines. We'll see you again at 8.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Now let's take you through the papers round the continent to see what the front pages are saying this morning.
We start this morning in Uganda on the Daily Monitor and see what we can find over there. It says, and this was a shocking story yesterday. I did get to see this tweet put out by the World Bank. It says, World Bank locks roads, schools, money. And of course, Yuri Museveni is saying that we can't do without loans. And guess why? For everyone who hasn't heard, the World Bank tweeted that they have certain laws and regulations concerning, protection of, people's sexual freedom and the likes. And, Uganda apparently, has broken some of all those laws, with their anti-gay or anti-homosexuality bills. And so, of course, that's why they will be likely withholding funds from, from Uganda.
But that's not surprising, though.
Definitely not surprising, yes. But at the same time, it's interesting for me because for me, it makes me start to question, what exactly then, because there are a lot of these countries that have broken other laws, right, that have broken laws with regards, freedom of speech, that have imprisoned opposition, leaders, that have, committed various other crimes, that nobody really steps in. Nobody puts this much attention, on them. But immediately they say that they, have separate thoughts concerning the LGBTQ community. We suddenly start to see this, energy towards them. So that's why, and of course, people started to question, what about Qatar? What about the UAE? What about some of all these other countries? Do you have relationships with them? And what, is their stance on the LGBTQ community? Is it just Uganda, or is Uganda just the easiest one to be
targets, the
exactly? And one thing that I would, I think not just me, a lot of people continue to ask is, what exactly is, why is everyone seemingly virtue signaling with the LGBT community? Like, why them? Why are they the ones, and what exactly is the freedom, for sexual exploration? The thing that seems to move conversations or move the world better than other crises that the world might be dealing with, and many other countries are dealing with. There's death, there's genocides, there's whatnot going on, but nobody seems to bat an eyelid until it affects the LGBTQ community.
Well, and just maybe to let you know how much of the strength and the influence that they wield. And yeah, I see where you're coming from in terms of how fast they've gained popularity over. I mean, how fast these conversations have seemed to like surpass certain other conversations that are also equally as important. Some would argue more. So it's very interesting to see how this happens. It's also a reminder that nowadays it's almost like, I wanted to say actions have consequences, but you must take a stand. You must understand that the rest of the world might or might not agree with you, and you must be ready for the repercussions. Or once again, Africa needs to learn to become self-sufficient, where we don't need to keep going cap in hand to the World Bank for money, so that when you want to take whatever stand you want to take, for whatever reason you want to take, you know that you can provide for yourself. That being said, Uganda's stance against the LGBTQ people, on the one hand, the arguments for they should be allowed to do what they want to do. It's their country, it's their people. On the other hand, it can be seen that sometimes it's quite extreme in the sense that the lives of people are targeted.
Yeah, but remember we had a conversation with someone from Uganda, sometime weeks ago, months ago, and he explained, he broke down what exactly the laws we're talking about, and it's not the way that it has been misinterpreted. It's definitely, according to him, that's not what the law is saying, and that's not what President Yoweri Museveni is trying to do. That there's some aspect of it that even had to do with rape, and punishment for rape, but it has been misconstrued as a complete fight against the LGBTQ community. And yes, I agree with the fact that African countries need to be self-sufficient. And